What is up, guys, and welcome back to another video. As you guys may know, Nvidia did just report their Q4 2024 earnings. They did report a double beat, so we do have a lot to break down in this video. We're going to go ahead and break this down from a financial and earnings standpoint, going ahead and look at what they reported and what their guidance is looking like. And then we're going to jump back onto the chart and go ahead and look at a technical analysis standpoint and see at where we could be targeting the highs and where we could be targeting the lows. Now, really quickly, just to show you guys where we're sitting, we did see a high of around $136.50. And then we also saw a low of around $125.50. And then currently we are sitting at around $134.57, up around 2.5% in the after hours. We really haven't seen this big move come in either direction, which did happen in last Nvidia's earnings, where they did stay mostly flat. But I do expect this earnings to be a little bit different once we do get that full guidance coming out. Now, let's go ahead and jump into the financials. But before we do, I do want to go ahead and give you guys this beautiful offer that we have with our Discord linked in the description down below. We do have over 500 plus profitable members over there, working our way up to 1,000 members. Now, once we do hit 1,000 members, that Discord will no longer be free. So make sure you guys do join up today. We have live alerts over there, technical analysis, breakdowns, and daily watch list and stock picks. Now, to get into those financials, we did have Nvidia report earnings, and those earnings did come in with an adjusted EPS beating estimates of 84 cents, coming in at 89 cents, beating those estimates by around 6%. So that is a pretty good EPS beat. I really don't pay attention to EPS that much, but where we are going to really pay attention is in these next four columns here. Looking at Nvidia's revenue coming in at around 39.3 billion, beating estimates by about $1 billion, where those estimates were sitting at around 38.25 billion. Really nice beat right there. I'm pretty happy with that. I really am not asking for a whole lot more. That is something that I would be happy with as an investor, and I am happy with as I am a shareholder. And we will go ahead and get into my position at the end of the video, so make sure you guys do stay until the end for that. But we also did have net income come in at $22 billion, which is more than half of their revenue, guys. That is a crazy, crazy margin for this company. And that margin did come in right at estimates at around 73.5%. Guys, I don't know any other company out in the market that is bringing in $40 billion and keeping over half of that. That is kind of just unheard of in today's market. And I really don't see any company getting close to that, besides, those big tech giants or big companies like Amazon, Walmart, and Apple and stuff like that that just have an insane moat over everything, which I think Nvidia is really crawling its way towards with TSM, where they did recently sign that contract to gain 70% of all of TSM's chips. So that is a really, really bullish sentiment for Nvidia. But lastly, let's talk about their guidance that came in at $43 billion for Q1 of 2025. Another great metric. That means that they're increasing their revenue by $4 billion quarter over quarter, which is just a great, great increase. As you can see, I got Jensen Huang's beautiful face here because I do think that he just saved us market. I do think if we were to have missed on earnings, Nvidia would have cratered, and I think that the market would have followed. I think that a correction could have came if Nvidia had missed on earnings, or if earnings didn't come in, what people were expecting. Where I do not think that we blew the market away with these earnings, but I do think that they were good enough so we can, stay where we are and move back up. So let's go ahead and break down what we're looking like. Right now, to me, this is looking like a little bit of a cup and handle. I'm really not going to take this too serious just because of the market volatility afterwards. But if you guys really do want to get technical about this on the 5 minute here, we do have a little bit of a cup and handle look, some consolidation right here. So if a pop is to come, I expect that to happen really by the end of this video. So we can go ahead and break that down once we get there. But like I said, we're currently sitting around $134.03, up around 2.2% in the after hours. Now, let's go ahead and look at some targets that we could be looking at and kind of how I think that, NVIDIA is setting up for the next weeks and months ahead. Excuse me. So what I do want to look at right here is just drawing a simple Fibonacci retracement from a low to a high here. And you can see that on the weekly here, we are bouncing perfectly off of our 618 retracement and moving higher. This candle isn't green yet, but we do still have 2 trading days left and we have those guidance coming out. So if we are to move higher and this candle does turn green, guys, that is a crazy, crazy bullish look. And when I do zoom out here, you guys can see we are in this ascending triangle. So I do think if we can get a green candle on the weekly close, we will definitely see all-time highs very, very soon. I could expect that to come within the next month. And I do think the same with S&P. If Nvidia is to reclaim all-time highs, I do think S&P does follow. But we are in this ascending triangle. It isn't a beautiful ascending triangle by any means with these, highs coming out. but I do not think this is an area where Nvidia is looking to fail or fall by any means. I wouldn't be surprised if we do get a bit of correction, but after today's earnings, I'm really not thinking that it's very likely. I would be surprised if we do, plummet from where we are today. But I do like to think that we might move up, and once we do get out of this channel next and break all-time highs, we could continue much higher to around $170, where my next main price target is going to be for the end of the year. I don't think this is going to be, the best year for Nvidia. We have had a lot of great years in the past with them being up around 140% last year. I really just don't see that happening. But that being said, another 30% up to around 170 is totally possible. And then with the way Nvidia moves, let's go ahead and look at our real targets where I will most likely be wrong and Nvidia will do, some 10,000% move like they always seem to do. But my real price target after this would be around that $200 range, which I think is quite realistic at that 52% gain. And then even moving higher, I know some analysts have price targets up around $225, which would be around 70% from here. And then say we do hit 250. That is 100% possible. We could 100% hit 250 by the end of this year. I think market cap would be getting a little high by then. I think that is where we could be a little bit overvalued for now until this company does start to really ramp it up. And another thing that I do want to talk about is this kind of stuff can happen very quickly with the weakness of AMD and some of those other chip holders, and then also with that TSM contract coming in, where basically they get to claim 70% of all of the chips that TSM makes. So that means if they are in a shortage, everyone's getting shorted. They obviously don't have many chips, but that being said, if Nvidia is getting 70% of those chips, even if there is a shortage, they aren't going to be as short on chips as some other companies, so they are still going to be surviving more than those companies. Now, I don't think a chip shortage is really on the horizon, but they have talked about it, so it is worth noting. But really, what I am going to target here is going to be that $170 range, and after that, we'll go ahead and target that $200 range. From there, it will really just be 225 and then 250 if we can make it there. I really don't think that we'll hit 250 this year, but like I said, we know this company. We know how they always find a way to overperform, so it would not surprise me. Now, my move coming out of earnings was an estimate of around $153 to around $148 at the highs, and then to the lows of around $121 to around $113. But recently, the last 2 quarters that Nvidia has reported have not really moved the markets too much. They have been pretty sideways moving in recent history, which is kind of odd to me. I don't really have a reason for that. It's just kind of the way it's been. I don't know why the move tends to come, a week later. If we do see that move tomorrow, I will definitely be jumping in that. But I do think that we do move up from here. I don't think this is a report that would, crater the market. I think this was plenty enough to hold the market at least where it is, if not move it back higher. But I do expect Nvidia to close this week above 136. I would love to see above 138. And I do think that is very possible, but we will just kind of have to wait and see on that. We're still currently up only around 2.14% after hours, which really isn't a crazy move whatsoever. I was expecting more of a, let's go ahead and draw that out here from where we closed. I was expecting more of around a 13 to a 15% move, but obviously we didn't end up getting that. I wish we had of, because, I have some shares, so we're going to go ahead and break that down here. But I do wish we would have gotten a bit of a better move. Seeing only 2% in the after hours was a little bit lackluster. But you guys can see I have around 35 shares of Nvidia at an average price of $120. Let me go ahead and make my screen a little bit bigger here and move my camera here. But you can see Nvidia is still currently sitting at around $134. I'm up around $500 on this position. It's a very, very small position. I had some cash laying around, and it just so happened that Nvidia was at their lows, their recent lows, when I was going to pull the trigger, and I ended up doing that at around $120.61. So that does leave me with a return of around $500, around 11%. 5.59% of that is coming today for around $250. And then my total market value is around $4,682. Now, this isn't my biggest position whatsoever, but I really just couldn't pass up Nvidia at the $120 price range. It was just so cheap. And if we ever do get back down there, I will definitely and 100% be buying again. So I am bullish on Nvidia long term, and I do think that we will continue up out of this earnings. I do not think that this, sideways movement will last for long. I can expect the rest of this week to be very, very bullish for both QQQ, S&P, and Nvidia, as well as some other chip chips like ASML, Avago, and AMD. I do think that AMD can begin to start turning around if we do get some bullish guidance. I am interested to see how Jensen Huang does come out with the guidance surrounding the tariffs and how that is going to impact the company. I think that is really what people are waiting for before kind of deciding if they're jumping in or jumping out. So, what that is going to mean when they do that. As you guys may know, there is a 25% tariff coming out of China, so that could impact, their margins, their income. It could really impact this business, so it could be a big deal. But in my opinion, I really don't think it's going to be as important as people are saying. I think it's going to be one of those things where it looks really bad on paper, and it's one of those buy the rumor, sell the news, but kind of be inverse, where I'm selling the rumor and I'm going to buy the news when the news comes out, and they say, hey, this really isn't that big of a deal. I don't think this is going to be as severe as people are saying. If it was, I think we would see a much, much bigger reaction than we have. I think we would be around $100 right now if those tariffs were to affect Nvidia the way that they, mathematically would, where you would see your revenue basically get cut in half or by quarter. But you could see that revenue go from $40 billion to around $30 billion. That is a big, big hit to take. And I don't think that the market would survive a hit like that to one of their biggest companies. And then most of their companies, like Tesla, with most of their cars coming out of China, that's another company that would be severely impacted by that. Tesla ended up rolling out FSD last week. So there is just a lot of back and forth in this market. I think it is a lot of fear mongering. I think people are trying to scare other people out of this market. And that is what I'm expecting with Nvidia here. I am expecting that, recent sell-off kind of just to pull us down right before Nvidia's earnings, which historically always happens. We always do dip into Nvidia's earnings. Day of, we always kind of move sideways, get some volatility, which we saw today. And then in recent history, Nvidia has moved sideways, which we have seen recently. And then after that, we do pump like usual. So I'm going to go off recent history and say that is going to happen again. We had a double beat coming in with estimates beating on both sides with EPS, revenue, income, gross margin, and guidance, all coming in above estimates. So that is a very bullish signal for me. As a shareholder, I'm very happy to own this company. And if we do get a dip below probably 128, I'm probably going to go ahead and average back in, start DCAing on the way down, because I am bullish on this company long term, as everyone should be. There is no other company in the market with margins like this, in my opinion, that really are going to stay in the market and stay relevant, because we guys we do know that AI is going to be the next big thing. No one is close to Nvidia. Everyone else is, decades behind their chips. No one is close. No deep seek type stuff is really going to take over this market. Nothing is going to really run down Nvidia's price. The only possible thing that could really impact Nvidia is a shortage, China invading Taiwan, and then tariffs. Those are the three things you have to worry about. None of those have happened yet. There's a lot of news coming out about it, but there's been a lot of news coming out about it for the last, 5 years, saying that China's going to invade Taiwan, saying that there is a shortage, but we haven't seen that. If there was a shortage, we wouldn't see them coming in with $40 billion of revenue. Now, that was just my little rant, guys. I do want to once again let you guys know that we do have that offer up for our free Discord. Go ahead and check that out in the links down below. And then also let me know in the description down below what you guys do think of Nvidia's earnings. Are you guys bullish or bearish on the earnings, and how do you think this will impact Nvidia long term? Now, that is going to be it for me, guys, and I will see you guys in the next one.